property on the retail side. And then Josh, you'll maybe show a little bit about what you do as well. Yep. So we'll use the property that the case study that we were talking about, the property in Bel Air. So 1706 Magnum. All right, so guys, what I always do is I always start with the subject property. Find that in the public records section of the MLS. Pull that up and kind of have that as a base that we're working off of here.
There she is.
And in this case, it pulls up the past listings. Let's say that wasn't listed in the past. You're going to come up with this, just general public records, owner information, tax, when it was built, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, what we're looking for is this, the above grade square footage here, because that's obviously going to be a big factor in the home's value. So we pull this up here. Well, then what I do is I duplicate my screen or the tab. So I have this as standard because MLS is funky and doesn't like too many tabs open. So, and I do also typically like to have two screens. So this will be on one screen, and then I'm going back to MLS here and pulling up our comp. So copy your address, and we're searching. A couple things we're looking for. We're looking at coming soon, actives, active under contract, anything that's pending, and closed. I typically like to stay 180 days, no more than 6 months ago, because I'm thinking of how a bank appraiser is going to look. They're only going to go back 6 months. So I typically like to stay at 180 days. Unless it's a really unique property and I got to go back further, I always start here. All right, so then obviously the type of property, single family homes, we're only looking at single family homes, so I select detached. And I leave everything else pretty much open until we look at what our options are. So then I go to the map, type in my address that I copied earlier. That pulls up our subject. Zoom out, get rid of the satellite view. It's a little bit easier to look at this way. And then, all right, so I'm going to be looking for, again, on the retail side, I want to stay in the same neighborhood, obviously, not crossing any major boundaries or roads for this, in this case, Route 22 right there, and Fountain Green off to the left side here. So I'm going to be focusing on this in this same particular neighborhood right there. And I use the particular polygon tool, but everybody likes to use something different. So I'm just sort of circle that area. Go to results, just to narrow. I like to sort by list price, and then I sort by status. So you can see actives at the top, close at the bottom. And then we'll go back to our subject. So make sure we're looking at 4 bedrooms versus 5 bedrooms, making sure that it matches our subject property. Square footage, I typically go, and then I'll also look at square footage. And that's another thing you can sort by. Going back to your criteria, you can enter your square footage range. So I typically go like +3 - 300. So up 300 - 300 to look at comparable values there. So back to our results. And all right, what we talked about earlier in our market, going back into our data. So we got to look at, in this crazy market that we're in, 2021, going back into 2020 is going to be a different price point and different value on the homes there. So make sure you take that into consideration. But we're really looking for similar size, similar bedrooms, similar bathrooms, similar square footage. So something that is 1,000 square foot more is not going to be a true comp there. So make sure you take that into consideration. As you can see, there weren't that many comps at the subject sale price that we were talking about at $437, which is why we were all shocked at what it sold for. $437.10, just closed about 2 weeks ago. You can see all of our close prices were high 3s. The 4s were properties that were either not comparable, so this was comparable, but fixed up. Updated kitchens, updated bathrooms, things like that, which our subject property was original to 1998 when it was built. So we had to take that into consideration. So that's how pretty much we comp properties. The real quick version of it. And again, we're looking at similar size, similar square footage, plus or minus about 300 square foot, maybe a little bit more. Make sure we're looking at the same number of bedrooms, maybe one less, maybe one more, but you adjust your price accordingly. And the biggest thing is location, not crossing any major boundaries, roads. Make sure you're obviously staying as close as you can in the same neighborhood. Oh, and one last thing, style of the house. A two-story colonial is not going to comp like a rancher would, and take that into consideration. Typically, split levels and ranchers are going to be considered the same in the eyes of a bank appraiser. That's how I always think. And then your two stories are going to be two stories, for instance, there. So that's how typically we comp on the retail real estate side.
Ready to zoom in my side?
Yep.
This is me, Josh, and you're looking at my computer screen. So Chris and I comp very similarly, remarkably. We've never even compared notes on this, but I'm going to go and show you exactly how I would comp the same exact house. So I go into the MLS, the same screen as he did. Coming soon, active, except I'm going to go closed 400 days. This is just a standard procedure for me. And then I'm going to go up to map. I have the address typed in, the same address, so you can see the differences and the similarities in how we comp, 1706 Magnum Court. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And much like Chris, I want to stay in the same neighborhood, not cross over any major boundaries. We have a very, as I have built up the team a bit, it's very important that everyone comps the exact same way. So we have a pretty strict procedure on how to do it. In the city, like Baltimore City, I'm only going out 0.1 miles, which is a block to maybe 2 blocks, usually a block to a block and a half. So you can look very closely around and see what is sold. And then if we're in the county, the maximum that I will do is 1/4 mile, 0.25, but I like to stay at 0.2 because that gives me a very, very tight radius of what has actually sold and for what prices. So there's my 0.2 miles, and I'm gonna look at results. So active here at the top, we see that there's one active for sale, same style house, I believe, same size. That one is dated. Some parts are updated. And that one is for sale for $460, 1 day on the market. Okay, so then we're looking at the closed. And so what I do right away, since I'm doing a tight radius, is I look at the range. So they're ordered in the same way that Chris had, active on top and then by price. And so in this neighborhood, we're going anywhere from 310,000 all the way up to 445,000, all with pretty similar styles. There's a rancher in there and another rancher. Okay, so the same size or the same neighborhood, we're going anywhere from 310 up to 450, so I know that's my range. And now from this list, I'm going to make sure that I know the exact size of the house that we're talking about. So we can see here again the same thing as Chris did. It's 1836 square feet above grade. So like Chris, I go plus 300, minus 300. So I'm going anywhere from 1,500 to 2,100 square feet. I'm going to look for the same style house, hopefully with a garage. And so my method here is looking at active, but more importantly, closed. And my goal here is to find 3 properties that are the same style. If I can find this, ideally, I want to find one that needs rehab, one that is move-in ready, and one that has been already rehabbed. So that gives us our definitive range of what I think the values might be. So this is 1574. So again, 300 square feet less, definitely a comp for me and my purposes, though it's smaller and only has 1-car garage. So we'll have to extrapolate the value. Different style home here. This one is definitely a good comp. Let's see the inside condition of it. Original kitchen to when it was built, most likely old carpet. So I would consider this one to be, I would read the comments if we weren't going so quick, just to make sure that it's move-in ready, but I call this move-in ready, even though it's not pretty in a lot of instances. So this, again, that would be a good comp for me right there. Rancher, not a good comp. Split foyer, not a good comp for me. Rancher. This one looks like a good comp. Nope, not a good comp. 2360. So it's too big. And then we're looking here, 1836, good comp, 2152, possibly a good comp. So I'm looking at those four right there, and then I'm going to go to this view, and then this is how I would actually save the comps. And so I have four here, and they go all the way from 1574 square feet all the way, actually this one's 1290, so that one's not a good comp. Let me scratch that one. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and my range is from 310 up to 445. So I would say that this one is move-in ready, this one is move-in ready, and then this one right here has been updated at the bottom. So I would advise my team that the highest we could go would be looking at this comp right here. So I would extrapolate out the dollars per square feet and then look at our subject property and try to match it to one of the conditions here. So I narrow it down quite a bit, and I get those three comparables to really make it easy. That makes it easy for us to underwrite the value when comping, and then it also makes it easy to present to a homeowner so they can follow our logical process of how we found that value. So anyway, that was Chris's comparable process. That was my comparable process. I hope it helps. So let's zoom back out.